Welcome to Real Words. I'm Rayanne Thorn Krueger, producer and host of this new podcast. And I have a very special guest today. Jill Gunderson is joining us. Jill is part of the Beach Town series that I'm conducting, and she's part 9 of a 10-part series. So we are getting close to the end, sadly. And I'm really happy to have you here, Jill. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited. About me, I am a very new author. This is my debut novel that we're going to be talking about today. I am a mom of 4. I live in Southern California, and I am on the PTF board at my school. I'm active in our church. I am just busy, but I also am such a lover of stories and reading, so I'm so excited to be talking about it today.
Well, I am very happy to have you here. And as another mother of 4, I can appreciate that busyness. I am very well aware of it. I don't know how you have found time to write a book, but congratulations on that. And especially this being your debut novel, That Time I Loved You. Interesting title. What inspired That Time I Loved You?
I love all things time travel, whether it be movies or books, and it was a goal of mine to write a time travel novel. So this is it for me. This is what I did, and it actually stemmed from a dream, but the dream has nothing to do with the book. It was just a catalyst for the idea to start swirling around in my mind and start getting something on my laptop.
How hard was it?
It was hard. It was hard. I actually started a few different manuscripts before completing this one. So this is technically my first completed manuscript, although not my first attempt at writing
Okay.
something. Yeah.
So just the idea of time travel. I mean, I'm the same way. My first real foray into that was the film Somewhere in Time. I don't know if you've ever seen it
Mm,
with Christopher
mm-mm.
Reeves and Jane Seymour. Oh, first of all, beautiful soundtrack and score. So look this one up. It was
And for
just a
that,
really interesting idea about how time travel happens, which is
right.
really, really interesting. Or the film About Time. I don't know if you've seen that one,
Yes,
which is a
I
really
have.
fun, more
It
modern
is.
day book.
Mm-hmm,
I think Somewhere in Time happened in the 70s sometimes,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
sometime.
mm-hmm.
But very modern day look at kind of like the Lion Witch and the Wardrobe, though still,
Yeah,
it still has
yeah.
that because if it is possible, we don't really know yet unless somebody's keeping it from us. So how did you develop your idea of time travel? Just
Well,
thinking
my
or
book centers more around the mystery of the time travel as
okay.
opposed to the scientific
Okay, good.
explanation of it. So I was like, this is not my realm. I'm going to say something so wrong, and I am not ready to be come at. Like, I will just stick with the mystery and the love story about the disappearance, and then the journey that Taylor goes to try to find her very first love, who disappeared 20 years earlier.
Wow, it sounds
Hmm.
fascinating. I can't wait to get my hands on it. I will
Thank
definitely
you.
be picking up a copy at Beachtown Books this weekend. And my guest today is Jill Gunderson, who is a brand new author. Well, will say published author.
Published.
This is her premiere novel, and we're excited that you could come and join us and talk to us a little bit about it. Why? You're busy. You're a mom,
Hmm.
4 kids. That's a
For
lot.
kids. Yep.
Why choose to be a writer?
I love the creativity aspect. There were years, my kids are all in elementary school. So I finally have days somewhat free, although nights are still very busy. But I spent 10 years growing and raising a family, with little time for me, little time for any type of creative outlet. Other than reading, huge fan of audiobooks, because you can do that falling asleep
Well,
or
you're doing
nursing or
laundry.
folding
All
laundry.
right.
But now that I do have more time, give or take, it was just a fun way for me to have that outlet. And I'm actually a dental hygienist. I haven't worked in a few years now, but so that was my profession. And I'm just excited for this new stage of life.
Well, congratulations on that. We have a lot more in common than I thought. Not only 4 kids, but I was a dental assistant for 20 years.
Oh,
before
that's
I
amazing.
before I went into marketing, recruiting, and then marketing. So
Okay.
uh, the white smiles are real and true here in this
They
podcast.
are well flossed.
Well flossed. Oh, it's a constant. We're out of floss again. Yes, we are.
Yeah.
So,
Yep.
given that you've gone through this process now from
Mhm.
conception, the dream.
Mhm.
Let's start with the dream, having the dream, and
Mhm.
then
Mhm.
conceiving the ideas for the book, and then putting them down, writing them, either handwriting, writing on a pad that you're carrying with you, or on the note section on your iPhone, or whatever mobile device you choose, where you want to get in a political argument over choice of phone, because that can cause arguments at a
It's
dinner
quite
table.
divisive,
It,
yes.
it is. It is. Or using your laptop or a tablet of some kind, or if
Yeah.
you're old school and are on a typewriter.
Mhm.
Do you have any advice for somebody just starting out and venturing into this? Somebody who said, I've had this idea in my brain for a long time and I really
Mhm.
should put it down.
I think one of the best pieces of advice given to me was just to start, because you can't make something out of nothing. So if you at least start, whether it be an hour a day, 30 minutes, if you can devote a couple hours, just get it out there. There's also a book, and I wish I could recall the name of it. It is very popular. It is a writing book. Anyways, they coined the phrase, you just have to get out, excuse my language, or I'll just say poopy
You
first
can,
draft. You just have to get your poopy first draft out there so that you can reread it, edit it, make it so much better. You just have to start.
well, first of all, you can use whatever kind of language you want.
Thank you.
Given the
Thank you.
forum that we're using, so that's okay. But I appreciate you tempering that. That is great
Bird by
advice.
Bird. I am so sorry. The book is Bird by Bird. I don't
Oh,
know why it
good.
wasn't coming to my
That's
mind.
okay.
Anne
Sometimes that
Lamont,
happens.
so good. Yeah. Hmm.
Perfect. Perfect. I that is on my list. You're not the first author to tell me about this book, so I appreciate that as well. And if you haven't read On Writing by Stephen King, add that to
No.
your.
Okay.
It's delicious. He's
Adding it to the ever increasing.
advice for
Yeah.
writers, right?
Love it.
He's brilliant. And was there a practice that you found yourself falling into? Did you commit to an hour a day? Did you say, I'm going to write 500 words a day like Ernest Hemingway committed to? What was your practice?
When I wrote the book, I still had one child in preschool. So I had 3 days where she was at preschool, and those were my work days. So I didn't care. And my husband was 100% on board, but I didn't care the laundry that was piled up, what was in the sink, if my bed was made. There were all these things that mentally could get me distracted. I do not have the personality to work from home, because I'm like, but the laundry has to be done, but I
Same.
have to put this dish away, and you can just, keep reeling. So I did devote, those were my work hours, and I stuck to them. For the better part of the school year, I did a couple writing retreats with one of my girlfriends. So we took a couple weekends away just to sit and focus solely on writing or editing. And then that was it. Then the book was officially completed, or the manuscript,
Tell
aside from
me
the 20
on
edits.
as a fellow mother of four, that at these retreats there was a glass of wine at
Mhm.
the end of the day. I'm hoping.
Always. We had snacks, water, coffee, and a reward at the end of the day.
A reward at the end of the day. I often use that
Yes,
as my reward when a project is looming in front of
yes,
me. Yes, it's
100%.
good to have those rewards. So I love
It
that
is.
advice, and that's everybody has their own styles. So I think we each
Mm-hmm.
have to develop, what works best for us. Some people
Mm-hmm.
can't say I'm going to do a chapter. It
Right,
just doesn't work that way. For them
right.
it is formulating and then
Mm-hmm.
writing and then rewriting
Mm-hmm.
and then deleting. Delete becomes your friend, especially when you're trying to perfect, right? And
And
some
editing along the way is so hard not to
so
do. But I
hard
get
not to
so
do.
hung up, and then the word count is just not the same.
It's yeah. And
Mm-hmm.
does it feel to you, I don't know if you've ever lost a draft or a page or a paragraph, that
Mm-hmm.
feeling of horror when you recognize
Mm-hmm.
that oh my gosh, I've lost this work that I've been developing. It's
Yes,
like described it like giving birth because it can be so
it's true.
painful and heart-wrenching.
Yes, it
So
is.
what do you have anything that you do to combat that? Because there it can cause grief when something like
It
that happens
can.
for a writer.
I lost 3 chapters once. I was so in the zone, writing, 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 not paying attention. My computer was not plugged in and just shut off, like just shut
Oh,
off. So that I learned the hard way. Always have it plugged in. I don't care if my battery's at 100%. I will always have it plugged in, no matter where I am. So that was really hard.
okay, Jill. One of the
Yes.
questions that I'm asking authors
Mm-hmm.
is about technology today
Mm-hmm.
and AI.
Mm-hmm.
And you're a creative person. You've talked about
Mm-hmm.
this magnificent creative process that you've been able
Mm-hmm.
to get back into now that you have a little bit more time as a mom.
Mm-hmm.
Does it concern you? Are you worried about creativity maybe taking a backseat to somebody just being able to use a piece of software to develop? I don't even want to say create. Let's say develop a story or a book.
Absolutely. My oldest, he loves technology. So ChatGPT, I mean, they the other day asked him to come up with a rap about Braille, and it was one of the funniest things I've heard. So there are, I mean, I know he's using it more as a toy as opposed to a creative outlet. My publishers are very pro AI and ChatGPT to
Wow.
spark creativity.
Okay.
They think it can't replace because even their description, when I talk to them about it, because I do have my fears with anything technology has its pros and its cons.
Right.
When used, I think in the right way, it can be a very beautiful thing, and we want to keep moving forward. At the same time, it can be used for very selfish motives, um, and that is my fear. My publishers definitely they said if you get stuck, say, here's my book. Can you come up with a back cover synopsis? And then they will write it. And I will read it, and there's no personality to it. So there are times where I'm like, people will read this and not hear the emotion behind it because AI doesn't have emotion. It will state facts. And um, so that is my hope that it will be maybe used in that way, but then be called out very quickly afterwards because of the lack of emotion, or it won't even do well because you really can't replace someone's experiences and their thoughts and their feelings, which really come through, whether it be songs, paintings, photography. So I go back and forth all the time. I have yet to use it for me to spark that creative
Right.
outlet. That's just the stance that they take. I also know that AI can, develop and it can become smarter and it can learn. So I do fear for that in the future.
Right. I think it's wise to be aware and know how to use it,
Hmm.
and also be wise and a little bit hesitant to devote a lot of
Hmm.
time there as far as a creator.
Or to
I
rely on it.
Right, rely on it to help
Hmm.
you develop, because then we stop using. I mean, we know
Hmm.
muscles need to be used in order to, and your brain is the biggest muscle you have, the most important
Hmm.
one, that
Hmm.
it's still around long after the others. My cousin called it long after you have hinges in your twinges, or twinges in your hinges. Let me get it right.
Yeah.
As you age and other things start to fall apart, hopefully your brain
Yeah.
stays with you for as long as possible, and we can
Mm-hmm.
still utilize it. It's a interesting time for
Hmm.
creativity, for content creators.
Hmm.
I'm sure you've scrolled through a media platform
Hmm.
and heard that artificial voice
Hmm.
numerous times, or one of five artificial voices that accompanies a reel or a story on. And
Or even
so,
audiobooks. People are relying on them for audiobooks right now.
oh, I don't think I could listen to
It's
a
hard. It's very robotic.
Yeah, I don't think I could do that.
Hmm.
So, so mom of four, one book in the books.
Hmm.
Good for you. What's next?
I've actually started writing book number two.
Wow. Is it a sequel
So
or something completely new?
it is not a sequel. It is another standalone. Although I would eventually, if you read my book, the epilogue really, major spoiler, but basically tells you what happens. It's like the perfect, like, wrapped all in a perfect little bow. This is what happened through these set of emails. And um, based on that, I would love to do a story on James's perspective, and that will come later. But right now, I actually have, and I love dual timelines. So my book, That Time I Loved You, has a then and a now. So it takes you back to what happened and then present day. I love jumping back and forth, whether it be point of views or timelines. I just love that. So this,
Exposition,
yes.
right?
So this new book, I'm only on chapter 5. I've done my outline, and this is my poopy first draft that I am slowly plugging away at.
There you go.
Um, it is an awake and a sleep. So there are parts where my main character, it's going to be just from her perspective, but she is awake or she is asleep. So what happens in reality, what happens in her dream, and how they both come together. So
Well,
it's going to be very different.
sounds very exciting and fun. Congratulations. My guest today has been Jill Gunderson, author of That Time I Loved You. She will be at the author pop-up event at Beachtown Books in San
Mhm.
Clemente on Sunday. And I look forward to meeting you there. Before we get away, besides Anne Lamont, do you have any
Mhm.
other authors or filmmakers, somebody that inspires you that you go to?
Sophie Cousins is probably an author that I will buy all of her books. Same with Taylor Jenkins Reid. I love her. And my two favorite historical fiction authors are Kate Quinn and Kristen Hanna. I just love everything that they
Wonderful.
write. Mhm.
Wonderful. It sounds like you're an avid reader, which only aids in your process.
I am.
One last question. Do you watch
Yes,
Outlander?
I do. I
Okay.
do.
With what you're writing, I'm thinking, oh, if she hasn't watched this yet, she's gonna love it.
Oh,
So
me and my husband binged that. It was
we
wonderful. It was a lot of fun.
can't wait till the next season comes out. Hopefully there will
Yes,
be one
yes.
more. But thank you,
Same.
Jill. I look forward to
Thank
seeing
you
you
so
on
much, Rayanne.
Sunday and appreciate everybody tuning in, especially when I was having technical difficulties. That's part of the game when you go live.
And
That's what
sorry for my
happens.
awkwardness during that time.
No worries. I have an edit button and it works wonders.
I like that.
Thanks for tuning in,
Perfect.
everyone. We'll see you next time here on Real Words.